Here we are in Germany. We're just about to turn off the B28 onto the B500, the Black Forest High Road, the Schwarzwald-Hochstrasse. Just let those guys get out of the way. I'm going to do the whole road in one take. I'm going to ride it entirely at the speed limit because that's been lowered. What was a 90km/h road is now a 70k, and there are bits of it that are now 50. So let's see what difference it makes. I mean, this is, it's one of the classic European biking touring roads. It's a road people cross the continent to ride. Not necessarily because they want to go stupidly fast. If you want to do that, maybe you'll go to the Nürburgring. But it's certainly a road where people have been going stupidly fast. Hence they've lowered the speed limits. Now, I've been coming here for more than 20 years. And I have seen some bonkers riding on here. But generally, it gets busier in summer. It definitely gets busier at the weekends. But it's a great road. And 90, like most national speed limit roads, you could approach that with a little bit of leeway. Wouldn't have any trouble. Now look at it. The sight lines are fantastic. You can check entrance to all of these turnings. There's nothing waiting to pull out. You can take a nice wide position. I'm adding this voiceover afterwards because my other camera has corrupted, so the one with the voiceover recorded at the time is now lost to everything, and you've only got the one top of the helmet perspective. I'm very sorry about that, but you can see, this is not a road where I'm being taxed at 70. In fact, the hard part is holding the wider lines. I'm giving that guy a bit of space anyway. But look how far ahead you can see. You can check every single entrance, parking spaces on both sides. If there was stuff there, you can slow down. It's a nice broad path by the side, but that's where cyclists slip. I know, that is just the giant lay-by. Going that slowly, I've forgotten that it was a lay-by. All of these junctions, you can see clearly well before you get there. Now I've noticed there is a tendency in Germany and in other places that you'll go along at one speed, and when there's a junction, suddenly there's a sign taking 20 kilometers an hour, or a different amount off your speed. Why? You can see there's a junction. If you can't see there's a junction and you don't prepare for whatever might be waiting there, how have you got a license? So, look at this road. It is absolutely fantastic. I'm flowing along. The hard part is staying out wide. At this low velocity, the tendency is just to turn in a bit too early, a bit too easily. I can take any line I want to through these corners. I don't have to take a wide position for a turning like this at this speed. I can sit here near the centre, dominating the lane, and it's not a challenge. I should be nicely out wide and then cutting back in. I've used this road for photo shoots for as long as I've been doing photo shoots in Germany, frankly. And I can promise you, those probably weren't done at 90k. At 90k, you'd still look like you're pretty upright on this road. To get some lean angle onto these bends, you do need to put a bit of speed into it. But look how open it is. It's not a problem. Now, one thing I have to warn you, you're probably going to want to switch off at some point, unless you've got some Horlicks. If you're suffering from insomnia, because suddenly we're going to be here for a while. This should have been a 20-minute ride, and it's not. It's going to be a damn sight longer because we're moving at the pace of a snail. I've got time to look around. This is one of those endless corners that you should just be sat out by the white line, powering on the speed, looking at that vanishing point, chasing it up the hill, winding the power, and give a bit of extra space to any traffic that's coming this way. But you can see the traffic, you can see the other road users, and I'm here, early April. Snow's only really just receded from some of these places. You haven't got the throngs of cyclists that you will do later in summer. You haven't got, well, there's one over there. but you don't have hundreds of camper vans, you don't have lots of hill walkers staring out into the road under 2 tons of rucksack. But even if you did, look at the verges, look at the margins. There's a good sight line. Unless you're not paying any attention at all, you should have a good view of what's going on around you. This is an easy road to read. I mean, the irony of this entire process is that this road, the high road, the road along the spine, the Hochstrasse, was built to attract tourists. And it was built to be good to drive. It's a product of the mechanized age. As people started touring Germany by car, they built this road to bring them into the Black Forest, saying, look, here's a great tourist area, and here's a great road for you to enjoy in your motor vehicle. I'm not sure that's going to happen now. It is still a fabulously beautiful road. It's lovely scenery. There are some great views off to the side. Excuse me. And it's a pleasant ride. But it's not a tour-defining ride, the way that it perhaps used to be, when you used to be able to actually use the throttle, and used to be able to actually enjoy the motorbike. Now, you're tootling along, it's like driving Miss Daisy. And for me, this is the bigger problem, because I don't believe lowering the speed limit will make this road safer. I don't believe lowering the speed limits on most national roads will really make them safer. I will concede perhaps the drama attached to any accidents might decrease, because velocity, the faster you hit something, the more painful it becomes for everybody involved. But if everyone's driving along untaxed, as in, mentally unchallenged, switched off, not paying attention because the speed limit is so low, how long before the drivers get back on their mobile phones? How long before people spend more time thinking about, what are they going to have for tea, where they're going to stop that night, rather than thinking about what's going on in front of them? Yeah, I'm still convinced that lowering limits to this extent just means drivers stop paying attention. The number of smidsies that you're going to get, people, sorry mate, I didn't see you, stupid little accidents, they're going to go off the charts. And you look at this road, okay, you will give a bit more, or you should, as a responsible rider, give a bit more care and respect when you can see there's a hotel, you can see there's a parking lot. Every time you can see there's a junction, you're all off. But look, I should be bang out on the white line, and I'm not. Now I'm on the right line, but it's hard to maintain those wider positions when there's no speed holding the bike up. There you go. Nice wide position. There's nothing in the lay-by, so I can hold that. Holding on, sitting on that white line, sitting on that white line. This is really hard work. I should be turning in about here, and I've turned in 100, 150 meters early, if not more. There's a great picture, actually, of this sequence of bends on my website, and you wouldn't recognize it from the speed that I'm going, because it's really hard to hold position. Now, I have come up here once, came out of Bden-Bden early morning, about 7:30, and passed one of the big lay-bys on this stretch to find it absolutely rammed from one end to the other with police cars. And there was a big group of policemen around, some senior officer at the other end, obviously getting the morning briefing, because they'd decided it was going to be a day they were going to enforce what was the 90k limit. If they do that now, and it's a 70k limit, and people are, certainly if they're riding it the way they used to be, they'll be in a world of trouble, because you're not doing X kph over the 90 limit, you're over a 70 limit. Your chances of holding onto your license are virtually nil. If you ride down here, making a little bit of public protest, I'm riding it at 90 because that's what it should be. Yeah, you're 20k over the limit, son. You're going to be in a lot of trouble. But look at it. You know, if the basic rule is that you have to be able to stop under control on your side of the road, in the distance you can see to be clear for most of this road, you've got a half-mile view of the junctions, of everything that's going on. You can stop under control on your side of the road from quite a big speed with that view. Now obviously, I'm not advocating unrestrained speeding. Only a fool would do that. But what I would say is, why has it been lowered to a 90? You're imposing an unnecessary degree of challenge, lowering it from a 90 to a 70. And look, when you get to a slightly longer, tighter turn, it's so well signed, you can see everything. And the surface is, it may not be as perfect as it was in previous years, but it's still good. Now sometimes when I ride this road, excuse me, I will turn off here. There's a nice little loop you can do down off the B500, down passing a lake, peel off at the roundabout, go down, come back up to rejoin it at a place called Sand. This roundabout wasn't always here. But now look at it, 50k. And that's not just dropped 50k because there's a limit for the roundabout. We are now at, theoretically, 50k because there are junctions. I'm going to go back up to 70. Why? It's a roundabout. I tell you what, it's really hard doing a voiceover for such a long bit of road when all of the drama, all of the fun has been knocked out of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would still advocate coming to the Black Forest, and if you hadn't ridden this road, you definitely still need to ride it because it is a beautiful, beautiful road. But it's very much a tourist road. Don't come here expecting some kind of toll-free Nürburgring, and I guess that might have been part of the problem. People came here expecting and treating it like a toll-free Nürburgring, and it's not that. It's still a reasonable A road. It's just got a ridiculous limit slapped on it. Yeah. I mean, look at that. I'm so far off line there, and it's not a drama. A, because I can see there's nothing coming. It's perfectly safe to take any line I want. I'm going so slowly, I can take any line that I want. There's no degree of challenge left in this road at 70k. Now, this is a road that sometimes gets wet. It's not the Black Desert. There is quite a bit of rain. Those trees are thirsty. It's the Black Forest for a reason. But when you're here in the height of summer, it can be properly scorching. 30 degrees. People get dehydrated. People lose concentration. People ride it too hard. Mistakes happen. All of this speed-killing stuff is about stopping mistakes. But, one person crashes, every other person visiting has to suffer. Is that entirely fair? Obviously one motorcycle fatality is one fatality too many. But on the other hand, it is very much dumbing everything down because someone's made a mistake and now everybody else has to pay for it. Yeah, I don't know. You're getting into very murky waters worrying about that kind of stuff. I mean, look at the views though, over the tops of the trees, blue sky, perfect road curving off into the distance. It is touring heaven out here. But, now some of these signs are saying 50, they've got an X through them, so I'm going to carry on at 70. But, yeah. That's a corner that was tight enough to actually impose a little bit of fun. Wow. It was a good view. I can't really show it to you completely with the helmet cam, because I do still want to actually look where I'm going, even though I'm crawling along. But I bet at this speed, plenty of people will be turning their heads, looking away, admiring the view, not paying attention to what's going on in front of them. And, you know, you don't like to profile, but, you know, older car drivers, people dragging caravans up a hill, are they really going to be paying full attention to the road? Or are they going to be paying full attention to the view? Slowing them down, or asking them to slow down, isn't going to stop that. It's likely to make it worse. So, there's a good cafe down there. There are many good cafes on this road, actually. To be honest, when you see a cafe, it's likely to be a good one. Oddly enough, they mostly do a gatto. It's quite good. You might have heard of it. I'm not sure where it comes from. I have to say, this is a lovely quiet run in the height of summer, especially if you're here on a Saturday. I'm here on a Tuesday. You won't find it this quiet. I've seen half a dozen vehicles. I mean, this is a truly spectacular drive. But the problem is, it's had a lot of the meat knocked out of it. And here, we're back into a 50. And to be fair, I don't mind that. This is one of the big tourist sort of centres. Height of the season, this car park will be rammed. There will be people wandering across to go and get ice creams. You know, you want to be going slowly through this kind of stuff. No one wants to be the biker that gets everyone else the bad reputation. Oh, hello, Mr. Bus, you just sit there. Thank you. Yeah, and this is what it's about. Riding along the spine of the mountains. Hello, guys. Just drinking in those big views, but also drinking in these big corners. There's a bit of traffic here, so I'm having to move a bit more into the middle of my lane. But look, I mean, it's such a gentle curve. It doesn't take any lean to get round it at all. I'm still in, technically, a 50. We're going back there, yeah. Nonsense. I mean, you have guardrails on one side to keep pedestrians off the road. No one's really going to be walking through that steep stuff on the other side. The little 50 signs have been crossed through with silver paint. I do hope that's official and it's not just some outraged local who's gone out with a spray can. But if that's the case, I will use that as my defence if I have to discuss it with any officer of the law. I mean, look at it, it's nice and quiet. I don't think that's very likely today, is it? Yeah. Here we are. If anyone's still there, do remember to check out the website, because there are loads of routes, not just B500, there are other routes through the Black Forest on the website. But I mean, look, yeah, I'm now getting, I have the automatic readout for the on-the-go fuel consumption. I'm getting over 88 to the gallon out of my rather thirsty Honda Crosstourer. 88 to the gallon. That basically means the engine is asleep. You know, it's ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. Obviously Isaac Newton's helping because I'm now on the downhill stretch, so I can be on a trailing throttle the whole time. Gravity kind of keeping the momentum up. And the hard part now is keeping the speed down to 70. Keith Code has this thing in his books, and if you're interested in track riding or even the psychology of riding, Twist of the Wrist is excellent. I really like the soft science of racing motorcycles, which is all about the mental aspect of it. One of the things he talks about is you have $1 of concentration, and where do you spend it on a corner? Do you spend 60 cents on your braking and 40 cents on the steering, you know, I'm probably spending 80%, 80 cents of my dollar of concentration on keeping my speed down. That should not be the priority for going safely through a corner. You should be looking at the surface, looking at the vanishing point, checking the traffic around you, not watching the speed out. I just don't think this is a sensible way to manage road safety. You know, especially when actually you look at it, there's no bugger here enforcing it. Why isn't more attention paid to driver training? You know, I'm an advanced riding instructor. I think that's really important. I would do. It helps pay the bills. But actually understanding how to go around a corner and not forgetting is quite important. You know, skill drop is a real big issue. You know, earlier on I kind of said I didn't like to profile them, and instantly said that old people don't drive well, more or less. But it's true. If you haven't done any training ever since you passed your test, you've been driving for 40 years, you can pick up some bad habits. I mean, advanced riders, excuse me, advanced motorists, if you're in ROSPA, as I am, get retested every 3 years to maintain or ensure that we're maintaining the standard. I can't help thinking that would be a really good thing for all drivers. And yeah, the cost, the expense, the difficulty, yeah, all that cost that could generate revenue that goes into maintaining better roads, all of that difficulty and expense that can go into maintaining better standards of driving and reducing accident rates because people aren't driving along looking at their phones or without paying attention to road conditions. I've actually caught up with something. I might have to do an overtake, and this is the first one on this run, and we're quite a long way into it. That's quite something. I mean, the trouble is, with this speed limit, I'm going at the same speed as this Dutchman, who's no doubt perplexed by the fact that the land isn't flat. You know, he's in a great big box with probably less horsepower than my bike and 6 times the weight. But because of the speed limit, I can't actually legally overtake him, so I'm just going to use a bit of speed and then return to the limit. Absolutely nonsense. I should have been past him in seconds, not having to creep along and, you know, come out wide, look past, when it's safe to go, accelerate, roll off as you pass the vehicle, return to your side of the road and resume progress at the limit. Frankly, I shouldn't have needed to accelerate. He would probably be doing 70 naturally, whereas I should naturally be doing 90. I would have just breezed past him without any of that kind of, will I get in trouble for having to use a little speed to go safely past the, you know, the target vehicle. This is the point where you start wondering, did I leave the beans on when I left the house? Well, I do know someone who got to London having left a pan of beans on in Birmingham, caused a bit of mess at home. I mentioned that it sometimes rains here. I don't think I've ever had rain when I've been here, and I have a reputation of being rained on everywhere. You see the snow at the side of the road there. But yeah, I've only ever been to the Black Forest when it's sunny, so as far as I'm concerned, it's as good as Barbados, you know, perfect place to come. I do know people that have come here and got very wet indeed. But, you know, look at the surface. It's pretty good. It's a little polished. Certainly when I first came here, it was immaculate from start to finish. Now there are some slightly rougher patches. And I know that in the UK, when councils can't maintain a road, that's when they drop a 40-mile-an-hour limit on it. You know, rather than actually making it safe, they'll just put up a stick going, slow down, because we haven't spent any money looking after this road. There's a road on the way to my girlfriend's house that is so polished that in the wet it is impossible to ride on a bike. Just absolutely lobs you all over the place. That's my favourite cafe on this road, by the way. So we're now sort of 3/4 of the way through. Don't worry, you don't have to endure that much more to get a feel for it. This is the section that I guess probably sees the most abuse, because we're getting towards Bden-Bden now, and I think a lot of people start and ride it the other way. So they'll start in Baden, get out of the speed limit. It's quite a busy town, and the first sniff of open road, a little bit of throttle fever sets in, and they just go bonkers. But yeah, I'm rolling along here at 70. Look how far ahead I can see. It's easy to understand how people get drawn in. I'm not saying I haven't been drawn in the past myself, but yeah, slightly patchier surface here. That's surprising. But yeah, so another 50 kph road sign with a silver cross through it, so I'll keep going at 70. Yeah. Lots of little junctions, but again, it's well signed beforehand and coming up, and you can see it, you can see into it, and here are the lights. So we'll just have a little bit of a wait here. I thought I was going to be able to just coast up and go straight through, but no, they're going to make me wait. As you can see, it's rush hour. Well, yeah. I like the B500 or the Black Forest generally, because if you're on your way to other places, it's a great place to pass through. You know, the Vosges, which is the the French version on the other side of the Rhine, on their mountains. Here we go. Yeah. Similarly, you have lovely mountain roads, nice wooded hills, not too high, some quite challenging corners, some quite easy corners, some lovely flowing stretches. And if you're going to the Swiss Alps or to the Dolomites, you can pass through either, or indeed both, one on the way down, one on the way home. And it just adds another element to your trip. You don't have to slog your way down on the motorway. You can get down and you can put this into your plan and have a nice ride. Yeah. Corners are well signed. Laybys are brilliant views. Look at this, endless, constant radius turns. Nothing's biting, nothing's tightening up when you're halfway around. It's all very easy to ride. It's just very hard to ride this slowly. Is it a good ride? Am I enjoying myself? I'm not enjoying having to stick to the speed limit. Or rather, I'm not enjoying having to stick to such an artificially low speed limit. I don't have any issue with sticking to speed limits in towns. They make perfect sense to me. My pet hate is the 40 mile an hour half whip. You'll drive through 60 at 40 and then get to a 30 and keep doing 40, or you'll overtake them, get to the town before them, and then they'll catch you up and tailgate you because they can't follow the speed limit. Well, normally I do. I make a real point of it. But it's hard work sometimes when you're on a road that clearly hasn't got the speed restricted because there are lots of hazards. There are lots of hazards here. It hasn't got the speed restricted because there's a poor surface. There isn't a poor surface here. It hasn't been lowered because there are lots of ultra-tight bends. There aren't. They're all flowing. They're all open. They're all well signed. You have fantastic sight lines. And I know I'm probably sounding like a broken record here, but that's because it's taking so long to get down this road. I think I've managed to do this road and stop and do photos and carry on in less time than it's taken me to do this 3/4 of it. Absolutely bonkers. And yeah, I know there's wildlife here as well. They have deer, they have boar, all kind. They even have squirrels, but you don't worry about them. But you will have some land, yeah, bits of things hopping out of the landscape at you. It's never a drama, unless you actually collect one. But generally, I mean, look, how many million miles have I, kilometres have I done? We worked out when I've been at Bow for 15 years, I've done 500,000 miles of road tests. That doesn't count personal riding in that 15 years period. I've only ever had one animal run out at me, and that was in America. Yeah, you see the signs of what the eggs through. I'm increasingly getting a bit twitchy at this point that might just be a local as opposed to anything official. So I might start just to wind it back a little bit just in case. This is the section you can see from the marked harm code that normally gets a little bit more police attention because there are a couple of good lay-bys where they can stick cameras. You know. So maybe I should just keep it down a little bit steadier. Right? You don't need to be doing 50 on this road. You don't need to be doing 70. You know, far be it from me to comment, but you don't need to be doing 90. Not when it's this quiet, not when it's this open. But you know, I think there is a sense among the clipboard wielding classes that if you rely on not just driver sense, but particularly motorcyclist sense to keep them safe, you're just relying on Charles Darwin and evolutionary forces and embodiment of trees and Armco and corners and motorbikes will thin the herd a little bit, which obviously nobody wants. Look how open and empty the road is, how easy it is to read over to just pick off one little apex, drift back out. I've let myself read back up at 70 again, haven't I? Yeah. There are even signs where there's a tighter bit, so that they tricky bends for a little way ahead. Hard to stay out late when you're going this slow. Drifting out. Back out to the edge of the road, hold for the next turn, look into the corner, see the exit turn, clip an apex, hold the line for the next one. I have to give him a bit of space, but that's not a problem. As you can see, there's nothing coming. We're getting right down towards the end here. Any line I want through this corner at this speed. I am just going to roll off a little bit, I think, just to be on the safe side. My speeder senses are tingling. Yeah, the Spider-Man had his spidey senses up, my speeder senses. This is where sometimes you get a camera. But they have nice concealed cameras over here, great big kind of metal rocks. So I don't know whether we'll spot one. I hope we'll spot one because I don't want to get a ticket from one. I think despite Brexit, tickets can still follow me back at the moment, so I'm being law abiding where I can. That ticket, that sign didn't have a cross through the 50. Oh, look, there you go. On the left there, that's a speed camera. And there's been fiddling with the speed camera there. Well, that's a good job I went through there at 50 then. This is pretty much the end of the best bit of the road. There's one more hairpin to come. And I'm going to turn off there. Rather than going into Bden-Bden, I'm going to divert. So we'll get down to the bottom here. A couple of corners ahead. Another motorcyclist. So yeah, that's the B500 ridden at the speed limit. It's one of Europe's greatest biking roads, and it's been reduced to one of Europe's greatest cycling roads, perhaps. It's still a fabulous place to come, but you're coming for the scenery now. You're coming for the atmosphere. You're coming for the cake. You're not necessarily coming for, a summer-defining motorcycling ride, because the way they're trying to manage the finance of the road, you're not going to get that. There we go. Last couple of corners. One long right leads into one long left, which leads into a hairpin. But look, all beautifully signed. Fabulous road. They haven't killed it, but they've certainly put it on its knees. Very, very disappointing. But, don't take my word for it. Come and see for yourself. You can get the routes off the website. I hope you found this useful.